All right. All right. We are good. Welcome, everyone. Alex Shrout, thank you so much for joining us. If you would have told me 6 months ago that we would have a remote rainmaker who makes, I don't know, $107,000 a month in the first 60 days of remote rainmaker, I'd be telling you you're crazy. But obviously, that has
Yeah.
come to fruition. So I want to thank you for your time and for being here. And thanks everyone who is on the call. Our job today is to sell you nothing, to give only value. And, we have, it almost seems as if there's a shift of sales process moving into a customer led buying journey. Okay. And solar power is very easy to get. Solar sales orgs tend to be commoditized and it's hard to stand up, right? And it's not all about price. But if you can master the ability to get in front of people virtually and use the strategies which everyone can implement starting today after you learn these, use the strategies to close the gap in terms of any lack of influence that you get by being on the phone versus in person. It's the perfect combination. So if you guys stay until the end, I have a document that will include the notes from the webinar here. It'll also include some sample closes, okay? Because we're recording everything, and everyone's after uh, the recordings of closes and what does it actually sound like, okay? And we'll discuss today the content of those closes, like the strategy behind the recordings that we'll provide. However, what you're going to quickly realize is that you're completely capable, right? And it really just comes down to having the right information. If people have the right information, they tend to succeed. And our goal here today is to provide as much value, as much correct information from astronomical results, so that we can increase the conversions of everyone in the call, right? And this is going to be provided in a recording, okay, in a replay. So if you have to go back and sell something and go run your solar company, don't worry, you will get the recording. So without further ado, figure out introduce Alex Shrout. Um, and Alex, I mean, shit, man, the stage is yours. We're really just trying to figure out what the heck has happened in the last 3 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It really is one of those things where it seems, just coming from a sales rep perspective, right? I'm assuming that most of the people that are in the webinar are sales reps. So coming from that angle, we all have the same problems, right? In solar, the solar coaster. Having to spend a bunch of money on advertising, knocking a ton of doors, recruiting a bunch of guys. It's a lot. So this program for me has been absolutely spectacular as far as just getting consistency and also being able to spend tons of time with my family too, right? Because doing door to door and solar for 5 years, it's a means to an end at some point. Now, some people may not agree with me on that. There's a lot of people that are just door to door till they die type of attitude, which is fine. But at some point, once you start getting into your 30s, 40s, you got family, you got to take your kids to sports activities. You're involved in the community. You don't have time to get out in the streets, guys, every week. I mean, it's just, and then the inconsistency of it and just being able to produce. So this has been a really good, life-changing actually, because I've seen people message me and, they're like, you didn't make 200 grand in 8 weeks or whatever. And, and I have. So just to cut through that noise, I have. And it's actually a lot more than that now, probably up into the 300 range now after the sales I've made in the last couple of weeks. So, This is a great way to be able to sell consistently, not have to come out of pocket a ton of money just to keep your calendar filled week in and week out. If you guys have ever used lead gen companies, you got to keep filling your credits, right? If you use Clean Energy Experts, or, you guys have probably used something like this, you got to continue to pay these monthly subscriptions. You got to continue to throw money into the ad spend, right, to keep the flow coming. And maybe you guys are better with money than I am, but you kind of find yourself throughout the quarter broke. You're investing in crypto and stocks. You're making all this solar money, but you're investing it. You might buy some real estate, buy a house, and then you're buying more leads, and then you run out of money, and then you're dry for a week or two. So it's just, with this, you're constantly getting your calendar filled just every single day, and it's at no cost, up front, to consistently get those leads. And obviously there's an entry up front just to get the program going, but just to be able to work with peace of mind and knowing that you're going to get leads continuing to fill your calendar, it allows you to sell 20, 30, 40 deals a month, without having to be dry. So that's been it for me. That's been the big,
that's great.
Been the big thing for me.
That's great. Well, thank you for that. And of course, we're fortunate to have found you. And I mean, Alex and I, we've known each other for years
as well.
Yeah. So, well, great. And so to set the agenda for the webinar, we're not going to beat around the bush. We're going to cut right to it. We're going to cover the numbers. We're going to cover the, what went into it and what is coming out of it. We're going to cover the sales process. And in covering the sales process, the biggest thing that we'll be able to do on this webinar is to break down the key differences between virtual and face-to-face, and the strategies that you can apply today to dramatically increase your efficiency. If you are investing in things like leads, if you are investing in virtual sales appointments, how you can get a better return on whatever investment you're currently making. And, from there, we'll do a Q&A. So we'll do a Q&A at the end. I'm going to provide a document for download as well. It's going to have the notes from the meeting. It's going to have, like I said, some sample recordings of closes. And then, of course, you guys will get this recording as well. So it's funny because, Alex, when I went into the numbers this morning, we have reached a perfectly round 200 raw appointment delivery status, right? So you've just reached 200. Now, for everyone on the call, that's a raw delivery. That's not actually appointments that were reconciled, right? So we do have a replacement policy. If the people don't show, if they're not communicative, we replace them. Because again, we don't make any money on the appointments, okay? We're only getting paid when the sale gets installed. So, from those appointments, Alex, the one thing that we're not tracking, which you think would be the biggest thing to track, is your total, because I know there's some jobs that are in limbo, but what would you say, how many sales you have right now as it sits today that are like not in limbo, no stipulations? They're going in.
32 or 34, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what is that for commission total? Like, what, not reconciling the appointments?
I got it right here in my Trello. Let's see. So total with just the ones that are locked in, no steps, it's about, it's a rough idea because if there's adders and things like that, but we're looking at about $287,000 in total commissions.
$287,000 in 9 weeks.
9 weeks.
So, and I know the question that's in everyone's mind is, how many did you have to pay for? How many did you have to buy? What does that look like? How am I coming out of pocket? And I can just tell you that with the replacement policy, roughly we have about a running tab with Alex of about 30K. Right now, this is 30K that does not come out of Alex's bank account. It comes when the system installs. So if you take the 30K balance from the 280 some odd K, you're still net positive $250,000 of commission
Right.
in 9 weeks. Okay. Just so we're all clear, those are the numbers. And you said something that really rang true to me at the beginning where, you reach a point where you have to sacrifice something for a sale, don't you? You always have to sacrifice time or money to make a sale. And when you have, typically what people sacrifice and what they invest to make sales is what they have more of. And we all go through this transition of having more time at the beginning, right? So door to door, self-gen, these tabling events, these types of things, this is how we start. And when you get to a certain point where you have money coming in, okay, and then you start looking at your day, you start looking at how can I get more time with the people who matter most? And you come to a quick realization that the only way to get time back is to invest money. And that's literally what the transition is. And I think, when you come into this with that mindset, you're primed for success. So how is your life? I mean, I know we're early, right? But in terms of lifestyle, what were you doing before? Like, what was your work hours were? Like, how many hours did you work? How many hours were you away from your family? Versus what does that lifestyle change to in the last couple months?
So yeah, I was blitzing a lot. And I was buying leads from, random vendors that I'm sure a lot of people on this webinar are familiar with. But yeah, doing a lot of blitzing. It was a lot of traveling, right? Always trying to find the next honey hole, right? Trying to figure out what state we're going to knock and all these different things. It's just, to me, in other people's story might be a little bit different than mine, but to me, it's just the nuance and the constant stress of having to get out on the doors, manage setters, and things like that. It becomes really stressful. And then it's, it takes a lot of time from the family. I've got 3 kids. It's not super optimal to be able to travel every week to blitz. And then the city that you live in too, you got to think about what city you live in. You eventually do get tired of knocking your own hood, and you want to be able to travel to different places to get fresh neighborhoods, right? So that's kind of the grind that I was on before this, is just constantly knocking. You take a couple weeks off, maybe a week off, you get back on the doors, and it really is such a life draining thing. And not knocking door to door, I think door to door is the building block of what we do. But now I sit in my office. I get to take my kids to school, which I wasn't going to be able to before. I can take them to their sports. I can give my wife a break. I get to do all of the things that people want to do, because it's almost like passive income, right? I mean, I literally print money from my computer, and it doesn't get any better than this. You pay a little fee up front, you get leads, you prove yourself, you close them, you get more leads on your calendar, and then the cycle goes on. You just keep getting leads, and then you're not going broke in the process. It seems as if you're going just straight net positive out the gate when you're getting money into your bank account. And keep in mind, what's the best thing about this is, this is going to be $1 billion company. I'm just going to say it, because there's no program out there that gives salespeople the opportunity that this one does, and allows solar salespeople to make $1 million, $2 million a year just selling. And then you get to stay home, and you can go to Starbucks, you can go out to lunch. I do what I want, and I've already been paid out. So I've been doing this for 8-9 weeks, Bill. You guys have already paid me a lot of money. Most companies, you don't see money for forever. You don't see money for 4 or 5 months. So yeah, it's just been it's a whole 180 from what I was doing before and what I'm doing now. It's a total 180.
Thank you. Well, it's great. And we had talked a couple days ago, and really this last week, we stood up, just so everyone is on the call. We stood up for the first time 2 weeks ago, our mastermind sessions with the remote rainmakers, where we could actually get everyone in the Zoom and chop it up. What's working, what's not working, what do the conversion percentages look like? Because it's all just like, it's the right information, right? It's these gold nugget moments where you take one thing and it changes your whole conversion percentage. And what really blew my mind is Alex came into this and had to essentially change his sales process for two very good reasons. Number one, virtual. Okay. It's all over the phone. And number two, he was getting so many booked calls that he literally didn't have time to pitch everyone. And I think that was a growing pain of ours. We didn't know how to throttle the appointment delivery because we didn't want to fucking hold anything back. Right. And now that we have more calendar space available, it's less of a problem. But could you start, now that we're at this point of, okay, we got the numbers, we have the preface behind the program, we kind of know what we do, but what applicable sales strategy have we pulled out of the last 9 weeks that we can give to the audience here? Things that they can implement right away, potentially if they're already doing virtual sales, just to convert more. So what did you have to change? How does that look like? Give us a little insight on that.
Yeah. So before, and it's funny because my sales process has changed like 10 times, actually. It's constantly evolving. And I think it's actually it's way, but, and it's the most simple too. So the process was get on a Zoom call, right? Or a Google Meets. And, then you also have the headache of the customer actually knowing how to use the Zoom, right? So that's like a 50% of your customers have a bottleneck right there. So there's that. And then you're just, you're doing a screen share. And then a lot of people do the bar graph, they write down the numbers. They're kind of going over their pitch. And typically it ends up being an hour-long call, right? Because you're hoping to get the docs done on the call and all this stuff. So, I've even had closes, and some of them have needed to take this long just because the customer needed that extra, that extra juice. But we went from an hour, 2 hour long calls, hour and a half. Now I'm closing my deals in 30 minutes. So I'm not actually doing Zoom calls at all. Now I will if they, they're really wanting it. If they just happen to hop in the call, right? I'll do that. But 90% of these people, you're just talking to them on the phone. And as I'm going over the pitch, I'm sending them screenshots of the proposal on the parts that I'm actually going over in real time. I'm not just sending them the whole proposal, because then it just gets too confusing for the customer. They get the proposal, they're scrolling through it, they're looking at the house, and they're looking at the kilowatt hours, they're looking at, these Mission 360s, and then they're looking at the savings, and then the leftover utility bill and the rate schedule, and then they're looking at the home. It becomes just like a lot. You want to keep it so simple for the customer's mind, because they don't think like us. We're explaining something to them that we know, very efficiently. We know it very well, and to these people, this is like calculus to them. So you have to keep it just ultra simple. So I'm literally just sending them screenshots of the kilowatt hours, the house, then you're hitting on warranties and home value add and different questions that customers typically have or objections up front. And then I'm just, the screenshots are coming in, monthly payment, what they're paying with the utility company. If they do nothing for 20 years, here's what it costs with the solar for I really hit on monthly payment. And then you're kind of just showing them a spread, not giving them a finite cost. You're giving them an actual spread of what they could get. So that way I guess you could say the urgency of it, but then also getting them more interested in wanting to get the better deal. So if you just pitch somebody, because before I would just say, hey, levelized payment 180 a month, 25-year 2.9 interest rate or 1.9 interest rate. It's just too in stone. Now I just give them a spread. Your average bill right now is 230. Now your solar is going to be 190 to 225. Depends on how you qualify. And then you do some other pullbacks within your pitch, but you're kind of leaving it open-ended on the price. So that way they don't get super set on it and they overthink it. You want to have them chasing you, you're not chasing them. So that's actually drastically changed. I close, like if I get on a call with someone and I'm going over numbers, I'm usually closing it. I mean, there's a few that you don't, but I'm typically closing it because you're leaving it so open for the customer,
So, okay. So that was just to recap and to walk through this process like I'm a 4-year-old kid, right? Instead, how many Zooms have you done? Have you closed any of these 30 something sales? I mean, what percentage of the 30 sales have you closed with a Zoom?
2.
Yeah. Okay. So Zoom's not needed. Let's write that down first. So you get the appointment. Now the appointment provides the power bill. At that point, you're producing the proposal, which in this case is solo. And then from there, you're basically you're kind of giving them carrots to follow. Is that right? Where you're sending them the high level benefits of the system. So we're not withholding the solo presentation until after the goddamn sales conversation begins, right? You're giving it to them kind of upfront. So what you're doing, now this is from my experience in sales and marketing, is you're creating tension for the person to get more information. Okay. Because if you send them the layout, you send them the savings, they're just gonna, it's hard to not learn more. Like as human beings, we want to solve problems. We want to close gaps. When you open a gap, it just makes me want to go forward. Right. Now, the second huge piece of that, which really blew my mind in the past week or so, was you aren't even selling people a price or a rate or a monthly payment. You're leaving all of that open-ended. Right. And what you're doing is you're closing them on ranges.
Yep.
Look, it could be between $150 and $200. I don't know yet. It could be between 2.99 and 5.99. I don't know. It could be 20 years to 25 years. Yep. The way we determine is we get you qualified. Then I'll be able to tell you exactly what it is. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, that's the secret sauce. I mean, that really is a game changer. Pitching them ranges and then keeping it super estimated. And then also using the site survey as a carrot as well, and dangling that in front of them. Along with the uncertainty of the payments, because a lot of these people, and some people haven't looked into solar yet, some people have, they've looked at 3-4 quotes. And so even then it makes it even easier to get them to want to do the qualification with you, because it's like, you're the guy, you're the broker, you've got the options, you've got the best financing, you've got the best payment options, but it's up to them to qualify and do the work. You've got to be able to get this. I don't control that. And so that really has made, I mean, these people just sign up because it's like, what are you going to tell me? That you need to shop? You don't even know what you can get. Well, I have an 800 credit score. That doesn't matter. I don't know what you can get, because there's also the site survey. We got to check the breaker, roof, underlayment. We've got to look at the entire house, make sure there's no red tape, but then ultimately making sure, with interest rates going up through the roof right now and everything's fluctuating in the market, we don't know exactly what you might be able to call John Don, solar, and you have no idea what you're going to get. Do you really want to have 20 different overzealous solar salespeople blowing your phone up in email every week? No, probably not. So the option is to do it with me and get the best payment. If your credit's good, let's get you qualified for the best deal there, and then get to the site survey, make sure that your system is going to be optimal the way that we think it's going to be. And then, and then if you got questions, call us. You don't have to be 100% certain on something to know that it's a
Right.
good idea. There may be a few questions in the process that you might need answered to really just solidify the certainty in your brain of going solar. But your neighbors aren't against it. They just don't know enough about it. And so let's get you qualified for the payment. But yeah, really keeping it open-ended, very estimated, nothing finite on the price. And then
You don't even show them the proposal until they're qualified.
Exactly.
Truly.
Right.
And it makes a whole lot of sense, because if you think about it, what homeowners are used to doing, I mean, how do you buy a house? The very, very first step of buying a house is getting pre-approved. And we always say to homeowners, besides the home, solar is the biggest, investment. It's like, okay, well, let's see what that looks like for you. Let's go ahead, get you qualified. It is a soft pull. You see, and what you're doing here is you're putting, it's all about tension to move forward. Okay. And if you're a red-blooded American and you have a loan that you're approved for, it's 120K, it's 2.99%. And maybe you want to roll in a roof with that. Maybe you want to roll in a standby generator with that. It's going to be extremely hard for you not to use that approved for loan. Okay. It almost becomes less about going solar and more about just giving into the tension that you've created with the pre-qualify. Also, one thing that I've also noticed is you close a shit ton of one-leggers. Okay. And one-leggers is one of the main problems that you face in a virtual sale. Now, if you send a husband or a wife back to talk to the significant other with a loan that they're approved for, it becomes way harder for them cumulatively to say no and to stop moving forward. Right. Exactly. So, I mean, you've shortened the sales process. You're able to, walk people down the high level benefits, get them ranges, get them closed on the idea of it, and then fine tuning the numbers after. Right. Exactly. Because, like, for example, for lenders like Dividend, they won't even give you a rate. Like, you have to apply. Like, they'll give you an amount and a rate, and then that's what you do. And there's been several situations with Rainmakers where, first of all, we're selling goddamn huge systems. I mean, it is ridiculous. Like, the average size system is it's like 13 kilowatt. And the reason is because we're cherry picking not just the markets, but like the markets within the markets to find these underserved people who haven't been knocked. Okay. They haven't been marketed to, and they live somewhat rural, but they're in deregulated markets. So it's all net metering, and it's a freaking huge system. So anyway, I just love it.
I just did a 30 kilowatt on Friday. Yeah. Huge systems.
30 kilowatt. That's Allen, right? You're understanding?
30
or
Alvin.
Alvin. Yeah. So, X was, I think that's Xavier. He's asking for one of the recordings. So we'll get that up into the library, and I'm going to put it on a Google Doc for you guys too. I'll source out some, so that you guys can have, because the sales training is easy for us. This is open source, just like Tesla allows all the other car manufacturers to copy their technology for electric cars, because, the goal is to get more guys selling solar power remotely and having more time with the family. And that's just the way it is. We know our value proposition is delivering the opportunities. We know that you're going to come back for that stuff. So, we're here to try and get you guys the SOP for virtual. Okay. So is there any other things, Alex, that you want to add to that sales process? Things that you've seen work, not work?
I would say, just from the perspective of Rainmaker, if you want to sell a high volume of big systems consistently week in and week out, and you can still do these things, right? You can still buy leads from vendors and things like that, but just the fact that you can have appointments on renew every week, and they're guaranteed, right? So it's like they're replaceable. That's the thing. You don't really get that you do get replacements, but you're having to spend money up front for them, right? Like if you go with just kind of one of those pay as you go services, you're either paying a retainer fee or you're paying, if you want, let's say you're paying, just to run off the top of my head, let's say you're paying $100 a lead and you need to get 50 leads a week, you're spending $5,000 a week, right? So that's 20 grand a month that comes out of your pocket. Just
for like a 45, 60 day wait period. And that's
right.
the shit, man. Like you go broke investing in this
Go
stuff.
broke.
It happens we see it all the time when we,
Yep.
are doing traditional agency services for people. It's like they pause, wait for the installs and then come back. Right. And that's where we're taking on the risk and we're letting the performance of you determine the level of risk we're willing to invest upfront. Okay. So, well, great, man. I think really just to sum up the sales process portion of this and to pull the key KPIs, key performance indicators out of it, right? You're best served in approaching the call, leaving it really open-ended in terms of numbers, and to focus on things like the layout of the roof so the homeowner knows you're a real person and it's a real thing and it's a real layout.
Yeah.
And keeping the ranges in terms of the numbers. If you can get someone, because I mean, hey, if you know that you're going to save someone $30,000 on electricity bills, it's almost as if you have a moral and legal and ethical obligation to get that person the money. And when you present a solar system with a cost, with a price, a definitive price and a definitive rate and a definitive monthly payment, that's a heavy decision for a homeowner. Right? You know what's not a heavy decision for a homeowner? Get pre-qualified, see what I can get.
Right.
Because you know what? They've already done it with their house. That's the same exact process they went through with their house. And that for me was the turning point in terms of this whole virtual sale thing, was greasing those wheels. It's almost as if it becomes less about closing sales and more about putting homeowners in awkward positions as many times as you can. Put them in a position where they know the potential and they have to choose not to use it, because that's really hard for people. And I think that's what you've done a beautiful job of. And it goes to show, I mean, you've made $250,000 in 9 weeks. But here's the kicker. The homeowner profits way more than we will ever make. The homeowner is profiting. Therefore, you've delivered that value. Therefore, you should be compensated in that amount. It's the way the universe works. So I just want to give it up to you. And, again, thank you for joining us on this Zoom here. I think what we'll do is we'll go through we've got a lot of questions come in, and we'll just sort of roll through these and answer them the best we can. And, so we'll go from here. Let me take a look. So asking for a recording. Yes, we can do that. Juan's asking, how do you very simply go over the ITC, right? He's asking about how do you make such a complex financial thing clear and concrete for the homeowner? It's the first time they're hearing about the ITC. Like, what do you say?
Really, I mean, I did really simply and nothing fancy. As you're going over the monthly payment and you're leaving it open-ended, I actually go over the tax credit as a range as well. I tell them, hey, you're probably going to get anywhere from, because I leverage the finance companies against each other on the delta between the dealer fees. So, you're going to get anywhere from 15.
We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, you're going to get anything. You're going to get anywhere from $15,000 to $18,000 in federal solar tax credits for going solar.
Another range.
I try not to really, because here's what a lot of salespeople do, and even really good salespeople, and I do it sometimes too, and I have to grab myself by the ear and tell myself to shut up. You tend to start just throwing up on the customer, and you're talking way too much. and you'll literally sit there and talk about a tax credit for like 5 minutes. Like, that's ridiculous.
I love it.
You need to just touch it, move on, because now if they bring it up again, hit it again. It's fine. But again, tap it, move on, tap it, move on. Because if a customer is getting too overwhelmed with the explanation, these people got, and just like myself, I've got ADD brain like crazy. I only got so much attention for something. So really just, you're going to get anywhere from 15 to 18K from the federal government just for going solar, and federal solar tax credits, in which you can apply to the pay down of your system, which allows it to be cheaper. Make sense? Move on. Yeah. And so that's huge.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you for that. Next question from CC. Turner asked if we do a hard pull. Yeah, it's a soft pull, right? We go through Dividend, Mosaic, and GoodLeap. And what Alex is saying is leveraging the delta of the difference. So he'll quote the highest rate and then run credit on the three. And for example, Dividend is typically lower on dealer fees. So there's just additional, right. He can choose to do one or two things. He can choose to lower the price, give the homeowner a better deal, or make more commission. It's up to him. Yeah. Next question was from CC. Says, are you getting the homeowner to provide the social security number on the phone with the potential customer to provide a soft pull? Are you Yes. That's what you're doing. What's the average price per watt to get $8,500 a deal? I think you're selling somewhere around $340 per watt, $350 per watt, right? Or was it a little bit less than that?
These systems are so big. I priced that. Yeah. I priced that 30 kilowatt that I sold Friday at $310.
Sure.
So it just depends. But yeah, $310 to $350.
So let me just do my quick math, and I'm going to pull out my calculator because I did not go to math school. 310 minus 255, which is the red line for.
Oh, and by the way, where can you guys go get a really low red line like this and have all of the bullshit handled for you up front? Managing the leads, CRM, automations, marketing, communication with the customer, getting the utility bill for you. And you're getting a 2.5 or a 2.6 red line, whatever I know that I don't know how you guys are necessarily running it now, but it's like you can't beat that. It's insane.
55. Austin, I think it was Austin Lee. He described it as a closer's wet dream. And I thought that was really inappropriate, and I scolded him for it. I'm just kidding. I love it. So we got 30 KW. I'm just doing the rough on your recent. So you made 17 grand. Nice job there, buddy. That's a nice little paycheck right before the holidays. Good for you. But again, 30 KW system. What do you think that homeowner's saving? Gotta be 50, 60K. Gotta be.
Oh, more than that. He's saving like 100,000.
And these homeowners want backup. We're doing a lot of backup too. So, okay, cool. So let's see, moving down the line. All right. So Noah was asking what, markets that we're in. So this is one of the reasons we started doing Remote Rainmaker is we can cherry pick and we know where the best marketing cost is, the quickest installation. Yeah. Essentially it's the Goldilocks markets. So we're in Texas and we're expanding very quickly. So let me do here. Awesome job, Alex. How many Rainmakers are netting over 100K per month? You're looking at them. This should be a disclaimer. This is not typical. But you know what I did? It's funny. We've got really good at tracking data. And thank you to my partner, Brandon Smith, if he's on the call, for putting together such substantial tracking. But we have I think it's 59 Rainmakers, and there's a good 20% that haven't even received their full allotment of appointments yet. And the average commission in the first 2 months, like across everyone, this is including people who haven't even sold a deal yet, is $18,000 commission, right? So that's the average. So if you look at it on a scale of 1 to 10, one being the average of 18 grand, 10 being 250K. It's just a matter of where would you fall on that 1 to 10 scale. You know, it all comes down to mindset, truly. Really
it's mindset.
mindset.
It's
so
it's
Ryan,
yeah, it's definitely well, I don't know. Are you wanting to answer more questions?
no, you can. This is your jam. Ryan was just asking about discovery call process.
Yeah, so we've been finding that discovery calls are great, but you're not doing a discovery on every call, because then there's people that just automatically respond to text messages and they're very compliant.
Right.
You know, they send the bill. You don't really have to call them. You can if you want, but really, and then if you guys do end up doing the Rainmaker program, Bill has a really, really good comprehensive training within that that goes over our entire introductory process. That's very outlined and scripted, not scripted word for word, but it gives you an outline of how you can handle the discovery call in a proper way, what questions to ask, because question-based selling is the number one contributor to success in my opinion. If you're just sitting there pitching, I'd always tell my sales guys, it's like I hear a whole lot of telling but not a whole lot of selling, because most people just want to chit chat. So yeah, just question-based selling, just literally asking them questions that they have to get, their brain has to work. You know, they got to think and they've got to come up with these answers, and not just yes or no questions, along with the option of what your payments could or may not be.
Right.
Is because I'm not special, guys. I mean, I'm a corn-fed.
You're special to me.
I appreciate that, you know, but I'm not. My point is that all these people that are in this webinar can do what I'm doing, and it's really just a matter of staying consistent, having a positive attitude, and not complaining. Because I've noticed the majority of people, they complain. They're like, oh, this lead wasn't a, you know, this lead is a no-show. They're not responding, or they didn't send a bill. You know, whatever excuse or some form of complaint that they can conjure up to blame their unsuccess on is a lot of what people do, right? So following up, I seen somebody ask a question, how much are you following up? I follow up a lot. I follow up every week. If they need followed up with, if they tell them, if they do not buy solar, they reschedule or cancel, and they do not tell me to F off, I'm calling them and texting them every week.
And yeah, very good. Because one of the things that I've really enjoyed learning from you, Alex, was you naturally score these people, like, you know, just intuitively where the person is in their buying process.
Yeah.
And that will dictate how much you discuss, honestly. And it's, you know how to meet someone where they're at. And I think, Ryan, to your question, you know, it's like, are you running discovery calls in every lead? And the answer is no. You know, the goal is compliance. We want to make the homeowner compliant. And if you get compliance with a text message, fantastic. You move forward with that. Because truly the difference here is not making it a concrete Zoom, a concrete date, a concrete time. We're going to be doing this. I'll meet you there, you know, or join you in this, using this link. That's not how it flows. The flow of it is, I need that bill for these reasons. And then the next communication is, hey, it's ready and it's juicy. It's better than I thought. When can I go over this with you? And it's just a much natural conversation, because you think about it, homeowners aren't used to managing their week by appointments. I mean, maybe some of them are super corporate people, but like, they're really not. They're more like forming a relationship with you, and you're giving them the carrots to fall down the yellow brick road. And that's just sort of the best way to do it. Desi asked, could you share the pre-qualification scenario before and after the close? I think truly, Desi, it's Alex collects the info and runs it through multiple lenders. And we try to see what it is. Because here's the thing. I can't tell you how many times I've had a declined person on dividend get approved for 120, 130K on GoodLeap, or someone who gets declined on GoodLeap get approved for 100 grand on dividend. They have different reasons for
Well, just to answer that question straight up, what I do is if I give them a spread of a GoodLeap price and a dividend price, let's say the GoodLeap price is 47,000 and the dividend's 39,000, the monthly payment for the dividend is, let's say, $198, and then the GoodLeap is 240. When I go to the qualification, I do the lowest or the best deal first to see if they're going to qualify for it. Because if they do, then I come back on the line when I take them off hold on my phone and I say, hey, great news. Do you have a pen? Do you have a pen handy or whatever? Right. So then I'm telling them you got the better deal. So I mean, if I have to run it under another lender, I will if they don't qualify for the first option. But if they do qualify for the first option, then I'm basically telling them, hey, look, you're getting the $5,000 cheaper deal in your monthly payments than 198. How's that sound? Then they're like, great, awesome. They're pumped.
And you just had a big system the other day where, because they got approved for the lower dealer fee, you decided to give them a money back, right? Because for a veteran.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. For a vet. Yeah. And you can do that too. If you're making 15, 18K on a deal, I mean, you can bless people with $1,000,
Yeah. Yeah. All right, great. Well, thank you. Just rolling through here.
I see a lot of people asking about CRMs and how we communicate with the customers. And I think that's stuff that I mean, if you guys really want to see what this is about, I mean, just join and check it out. And it's all simple stuff those are all very easy questions to answer. Using a CRM to track all your leads and communicate and text and email all your customers. It's all one system. As far as talking to the customer, you just use your cell phone with the app, the CRM on the phone, and you can dial right through the CRM and keep everything simple on your phone. So it's super easy stuff.
Yeah. So cool. I'm just browsing through. They're kind of very similar questions. You know what I mean? There's about 50 of them. So I'm just trying to make it through. Stuff about Texas.
This guy asked, how do you build trust and credibility without them being able to see you?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's a good one. That's a really good question. So the way that I attack the credibility is obviously I'm reading the customer. There's a lot of people that are just down to go solar and they could give two shits how credible you are. I mean, you still want to give them the highlights, right? But if you got somebody that's super skeptical, they think everything's a scam, and you find that out by asking them questions. One of the first questions I ask someone is, have you looked into solar before? And that's on the discovery call or during the first time I speak to them.
Yeah.
And then if they have, who have you looked at? If they haven't, and then my process is completely different depending on where they're at in the process. Yeah. If someone's just now looking into solar and they have no intention of buying solar, they're just information browsing, I'm not giving them any numbers. I'm pitching them though to sell them on everything else that I sell people on, except we're just missing a concrete number. Yeah. So and then my job is to sell them or get them, if they're at a 1 or a 2, I want to get them to a 7, and then I want to set up another call to where it's like, okay, if I can get your payment less than, if I've answered all their questions, all their uncertainties, all the things that they got on the call, I'm now asking them, hey, if I can get the monthly payment less than what you pay now, after I've explained how the program works, get you a bag of cash from the federal government, and you go from renting to owning your power, as you stated, it seems that's a sensible thing to do. Would you do it? You want to ask tie down questions on the discovery call when they're in that very first stages of looking, because you're not just going to pitch them solar and be like, hey, $73,000, $320 a month, and your tax, you're going to get $21,000 from the government. They're not going to buy it. Right. They're just not. Even though it makes logical sense, they're just not emotionally invested enough to buy it yet. So you really have to build that first, especially when they're in the beginning stages.
Right. and we break down this sales process into essentially building blocks inside the training. But I think the high level gist of it is when the homeowner confirms the appointment, that's when the sales process begins with you. And it's not waiting until the appointment happens. It's reaching out and beginning to sink the hook of solar in general on the initial outreach. Because if people are non-compliant, all that means is they don't have the right information yet. You see, like if Alex hated sushi and I wanted Alex to go to a sushi bar with me, I would have to give him more new information to go. Like if I said, Alex, you want to go to a sushi bar? He'd be like, yeah, I'm not really into it. I don't like sushi. And if I said, Alex, now I know you're a married man, but if there's a supermodel and she's like really interested in learning how you make 107K a month in solar virtually from your fucking house, she was going to meet us at the sushi bar, you would go. You would have more information to go. And that's the same thing with a homeowner. If they're not compliant, you need to sink the hook. And it's the easiest thing to do in the world because there's no numbers involved. You sell the homeowner on the idea. Okay. Everyone knows energy rates are up. Everyone knows it's better to own versus rent. These things are things that you would discuss at a barbecue. You just met a new neighbor, right? They're like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm in solar. They go, oh, does that even save money? I've been thinking about that. Those are the things that you discuss in that initial call, right? And what you do with, like Alex has done so beautifully, is you create these senses of urgency. Like, look, we are in an energy crisis. We're inundated with demand. Like we're trying to just make sure that you, Mr. Homeowner, are who you say you are and you're legit. Okay. Because when people come through marketing, they think, is this legit? That's the number one question. And if we approach it like, look, we're busy. A lot of people are doing this. This is what it's about. This is what's at stake. You could miss out on this amount of money if you're not compliant with me. Then they move forward, right? So big takeaway, don't wait for the appointment time. Talk to that homeowner, ideally the same day that they book, okay? Whether it's through text, call, whatever. And the goal becomes to create as much freaking tension as humanly possible. And I think the apex of tension that is possible is when they're approved for a solar loan. Okay. And all the other numbers come to fruition after that. The exact cost of the system, the exact monthly payment, the exact size of the system, the exact savings. Those are all things that need to be left to be discovered after the pre-qualification on a virtual sale. And really with any sale, that's how you should do it. I don't know if you see any other ones that stick out to you, Alex, here for questions. Well, someone asked if you stay on the phone until they sign, and
Yes.
simple answer, right?
Yep. I mean, it doesn't always work out like that. There are times where, I mean, there was a lady where she had like some, she was on the road driving, because sometimes you're pitching these people while they're in the car on Bluetooth, right? It's going to be, I did get a trucker to sign while he was driving. But, no, definitely don't want to put people's lives at risk to sign documents. But, typically, yes, you are staying on the phone with them. I would say that the people that you let off the phone, there is a chance that they do not sign because they had a black swan that they didn't tell you about.
Yeah.
You definitely want to handle everything up front.
Right.
But it happens. You can't control everything.
Right.
Things do happen. I even though I've sold a lot of deals and I've been at this for a long time, there are times that I do lose a deal. It does happen.
Great. Well, everyone's very thankful that you've been able to drop some alpha and some gold nuggets on them today. Guys, what I'll do is I'll link a document in the description below. And, that might not even be the best way to do it. I'm probably going to email blast everyone to give the doc and the recording of this webinar. The thing I want to really blow everyone's wigs back about real quick before we part is you've generated close to $300,000 for yourself of of income, right? And I know we know with reconciliation and everything, it's about 250. What did you have to come out of pocket? How much are you out of pocket to generate $250,000 of net income?
So I paid, you're just asking like what I paid
Us
to,
up front.
yeah. So yeah, I paid $10,000 just to start. And I was, I guess, one of the first people that started it. I know that it's a little, the barrier of entry is a lot lower now for you guys. So that's really, really good. But yeah, I paid $10,000 to get started, and I haven't paid a single penny out of pocket after that to continue to fill my calendar every week. So yeah, I paid $10,000. So I mean, if you think about it, my acquisition cost net is only like 200 and something dollars. Acquisition in solar is really good, even if you're at like 1,000 to 1,500. That's like a target for most companies. Mine is under 300.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thank you for that. And we'll be wrapping up the webinar here. What I just to give guys guys and gals, the details of the offer itself is it's $7,500 to start.
Yep.
Okay. And it includes a setup fee of $3,000 one time, but we include 15 virtual appointments for that 7,500, which we do replace about 30% of these things, right? So it ends up being about 20 pitches. Now,
you're getting 20 guaranteed pitches,
right.
Right.
So
yeah.
Yes, it has to go through our installation network. It's the only way this whole thing works. We're installing in less than 50 days. And the systems are massive and the commissions are huge. It's about 10 grand commission. So what I did was, for this webinar, I wanted to produce a discount. So there is a fast action discount. If anyone does want to go ahead and join, I posted the payment link inside the chat here. Now, until you get onboarded, this is all, we can refund you. It's not a huge deal if something changes. However, this discount will only be good for the next 24 hours. So it's in the chat of the Zoom. So even if you don't sign up today, grab the link, bookmark it, and we'll reach out. We'll give you this Zoom recording here. Yeah, man. Is there any parting words that you wanted to say for the crew?
I would say that if you have the money to invest in yourself to make your life significantly easier in the solar coaster of life, you guys should definitely do this, especially if you guys are already closing at a high level. You should definitely do this. Do it for yourself, do it for your family. You can, there's no other program out there where you as a rep can make $1 million plus a year selling solar. It's almost unheard of. So it's the best. Do it. So
grateful for you. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to meet with us and to bestow the golden nuggets that will become seeds and grow in all these other people's sales careers. So thank you guys. Thanks everyone for being here. I will turn around this recording as soon as Zoom will give it to me. And I'll also be attaching a document with some recordings, things of that nature, sales tips, feedback from our clients, so that you guys can implement this stuff right away. So thanks again. Listen, enjoy the week. Okay. We're doing good stuff out here. It's very important, the work that we do. And let's get these systems in, because everyone knows the holidays slow down. So this is our last chance. Let's sprint. And I'll look forward to working with more of you guys. So take care. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate it. And we will talk to everyone soon. All right. Take care.